friends, Stephanie here from Classy Lady Yarnworks, bringing you a tutorial today on the single crochet cluster stitch, on at least a variation of it. There's a few different types out there, but I am using this one and this tutorial specifically as it relates to creating a cross stitch pattern on your crochet pieces. There's a lot of tutorials out there for using straight single crochets, and that's great, but I think that it's harder to keep your cross stitches looking nice and in line, and doing this cluster stitch creates this really great grid that is super easy to cross stitch into. So let's get started. All right, so I am starting this stitch off with a chain 22. The stitch has a multiple of 2 plus 1, and then add 1 for the base chain. So the first chain does not count as a stitch. So the base row for this stitch is going to start with a series of single crochets, chain 1s. So we're going to single crochet, chain 1, skip 1 chain, single crochet into the next. We're going to do that all the way down. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet. And this is going to create the base for our stitch pattern. So I'll go ahead and speed this up right here. Again, just single crochet, chain 1, skip 1 until you get to the last stitch. Okay, so we're going to single crochet into the first stitch here. And then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to work in the next 2 chain spaces for this part. So we're going to insert hook, yarn over, pull through, insert hook into the next chain space, yarn over, pull through. We'll have 3. We're going to yarn over, pull through all 3. Now, moving forward, we're going to start in the same stitch that we just worked into. So we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to insert into the second part of that first single crochet cluster, same stitch, same chain space, and then yarn over, pull through, insert into the next chain space, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3. So again, chain 1, and then working into that same chain from the last stitch, insert, yarn over, from the next chain, insert, yarn over, then yarn over, pull through all 3. And then just continue on to the end of the row until you get to the last stitch, and I'll speed this up. Okay, so now I'm to the last stitch here. I've chained 1, and then I'm just going to single crochet to anchor into that last single crochet. And then chain 1, turn, and we're going to rinse and repeat. So single crochet in the first stitch, chain 1, and then insert into the next chain space, yarn over, pull through, next chain space, yarn over, pull through, yarn over all 3, chain 1, and then start in that same stitch, that same chain space, yarn over, pull through, next chain space, yarn over, pull through, chain 1, and just repeat. Just make sure you start the cluster in the same chain space as the previous stitch. So that very first one, you're working in to 2 chain spaces by itself, but after that, you're working in the first post into the previous chain that you previously worked into. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of rows so you can see, well, several rows. I'm going to go ahead and do several rows so you can see the way that the stitch pattern works out and how easy it is to cross stitch into. Okay, so I've done a few rows here and you can see how the pattern is working out. And if you look, I'm going to pull this a little closer to the camera. If you look here, you have this really great grid that's happening. You see all these little gaps in between. It works out so that these are pretty much perfectly straight on with each other. It is absolutely perfect for cross stitching into. So I'm going to give you an example here. I'm going to throw a couple of cross stitch in here so you can kind of see it in action. All right, so this is what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to do a quick little simple row so you can see how it works out. I'm doubling up my yarn. You can kind of play with it, get creative. If you like a thicker stitch like I do, then you may want to double up your yarn. I did not do this at all how I normally do this. I'm confusing myself. Forgive me the background noise, guys. If you know me, you know I've got kiddos, and one of them is watching a YouTuber right now. I don't know. So there's just a few stitches so you can see how great those stitches line up in that grid. It's perfect. They turn out just fantastic within this grid. Alright, I hope that you enjoyed that tutorial. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and drop me a comment and let me know if this is something you are excited about trying. Let me know if you have ever tried the other method and how you think that this compares. And if you found this video helpful, make sure you tap that like button and subscribe. I do oh, my daughter's video. I do stitch tutorials and yarn reviews. I'm a crochet designer by trade. I do primarily sweary stuff, so if you are Crass and sweary and want to check those out, you can check them out in the links in my description. And you guys have a great day. Keep doing you, and I'll talk to you next time.